we're going to move on now with our sessions, and we're going to take a step back and look at a broader view of DMD research, and specifically what Duchenne UK is funding and where it's planning to focus funding in the future. So to talk to us, we welcome back Emily and the UK's Head of Technology, Hayley Philippault.
Hello, everybody. I'm really sorry it's me again. It wasn't meant to be me. It was meant to be our absolutely wonderful Director of Research, Dr. Alessandra Gaita, but unfortunately she can't be here today for personal reasons, but she sends you all her very best, and she's being greatly missed because she's an absolutely huge, incredible asset to our organisation.
And I'm Hayley Philippault. Some of you may have seen me outside. Oh, thank you. And so, yes, as Claire very kindly said, so I'm the Head of Technology at Duchenne UK. And like Alessandra, I've got more years than I care to admit to of experience in my field, which is product design and engineering. I spent almost entirely designing products for people with disability. And I should add that there's a couple more of us in the research team as well. It's not just us two. And between us, we worked out we had over 60 years of working in research projects and collaborations. So you're in safe hands.
So I've only just recently looked at these slides, so just please bear with me. I'm going to race through them because I actually think you want to hear from Hayley as much as Alessandra. But just to reiterate what our mission is, everything we do is focused on accelerating the development and access to transformative treatments for people with DMD. It's really what drives our whole team. And Alex and I know more than anyone the ticking clock that is on our shoulders. We do not have time to waste, so we do everything as quickly but as methodically as possible. This is a timeline of the impact of Duchenne UK today, and I always find this slide slightly overwhelming because for the first 4 or 5 years it was literally me and Alex from our kitchen tables. But we've now built an incredible team who are helping us to deliver all of this great work. I'm not going to pick out everything, but I just wanted to show you how much of an impact we're having on the acceleration of research, because in 2014 we funded the phase 1 study of vamorolone, along with joining Jack and the Duchenne Research Fund. We invested £750,000 in that phase 1 study, and the results of that enabled the company to then go to the EMA for funding, to the EU, for funding for the phase 2 study. And I think what we did there was to fund what's called the notorious valley of death, where treatments sit on a laboratory shelf, unable to get into the clinic, because that's the risky phase of drug development. It's very difficult to make that leap. So we helped the company make that leap. And here we are today, 10 years later, which is really wonderful. Sorry about this. Okay. So if drug development takes a long time, what can we do? Well, the answer is we do an awful lot. We fund preclinical work, which is what Anamika was talking about earlier, the work in the laboratory. We also fund clinical work. We funded clinical trials, some that we've run ourselves and some that we've helped to fund with small organisations. And then we also have Project Hercules, which deals with market access, and then we have Standards of Care, which is DMD Care UK. So underpinning all of this research are our key programs. So we have medical research, we have DMD Care, Project Hercules, DMD Hub, and then we have the technology stream, which is what Hayley will be talking about later. And underpinning all of this, I guess, is data. And we heard from Volker just how important data is. And I'll come on to what our plans are for data in a moment. We also offer a huge amount of patient support. So we have our folders for newly diagnosed and for adolescents. We have the educational support program, Decipher, run by Nick Catlin. We have DMD Care. And we have New Horizons. This is our first New Horizons, and depending on what feedback we get, we might well be back next year, so do please fill out your forms. So in terms of R&D, what do we fund? We fund genetic therapies and all of the others listed below. We're funding devices and technology, but also, and I think it was Volker and Francesco and Michaela's, Annemiek and Michaela's speeches were all so informative. And I hope you really got an understanding of how challenging the landscape is. And I think when Alex and I first started, we were quite naive. And actually that naivety helped to drive us and not take no for an answer. But we were quite naive because we thought, well, we just need to fund the research and then we'll get the treatments and that we'll all be happy. But it's not as simple as that, because, you know, we needed biomarkers, we needed endpoints, and we're getting there slowly, and Duchenne UK is really trying to help fund a lot of this work. that's the wrong thing. A lot of this work to do with trial design, how we can better use data and how we can better inform and design clinical trials. So what's coming next? We need better treatments, and we're helping to fund some of those. More tech projects are on the way, and we really want to continue our amazing work on DMD Care UK by using research to better inform some of our care guidelines and some of the ways we care for our boys. Up to 5 years, what do we hope for? Transformative treatments, improved trial designs with better outcomes, and improved quality of life for all patients with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So, yeah, that's quite obvious, isn't it, that we fund the best projects. But, you know, we have, I think Hayley said we have something like 60 years of experience between us. You know, we have a really, really robust triage system for the sorts of research that we fund. And we really do have a good track record in the successful outcomes of projects that we fund. We're all about collaboration. As you've seen through DMD Care and Project Hercules, we are all about collaboration. And our partner charities, you know, I think that's quite unique in the charity space to have 3 separate charities joining Jack, Duchenne Research Fund, Alex's Wish, and also Chasing Connor's Cure 4, who are separate charitable entities, but they fund money to us. There's no point in them having a research department, them having a fundraising department, them having a this and a that. We need to streamline, we need to come together, and that's what Duchenne UK is really good at doing. And all of this, of course, helps to enable research. We have a really robust scientific advisory board, and when we do grant calls, we create a unique advisory and research panel to assess all of our grant call applications. So what's next? Well, last month, many of you will have seen that we launched a £1.5 million grant call for Help the Heart. I think, as we've learned in DMD Care UK, there are treatments now for the heart, but we need more, better, effective treatments. So Help the Heart grant call was launched, 1.5 million, it's open for 12 months, and we really want to encourage people to apply if they have ideas for repurposing drugs or novel compounds and novel approaches. In the next coming months, we're also going to be launching a therapeutic grant call for transformative treatment, so really trying to build on the work that's been done on gene therapy, exon skipping, and stem cells to try to advance next generation therapies. Another big piece of work for us is a UK patient data platform. So we're working with Action Duchenne to take over their registry. We won a £500,000 grant as part of the Paladin Consortium, which is a European consortium of patient organisations and academic groups, to develop a state-of-the-art patient platform, which will incorporate not only the clinical trial finder, the central recruitment database, but will be an opportunity for you to input data from your experience as a patient and as a caregiver, but also for it to be a one-stop shop for you to access the emergency app, all of the outputs that come from DMD Care UK. So we'll be launching that next year, and we're really excited about it, and we really hope that this will be a massive resource for the community and also for academics and for industry, because as Volker was saying, data is the key today, and we really need to adapt to that challenge and be at the front of it all. And the DMD Hub, continuing to grow and develop and encourage and bring clinical trials to the UK. I think that's it. Is that me?
That's you.
Yes.
One thing.
If there's one thing that you need to remember, we are totally committed to funding research and improving lives. And we will continue to drive that progress for as long as we are here. Okay, over to you, Hayley. Do you want these, or I'm going to put them away because, yeah.
Remember what to do. Thanks, Emily. Hopefully I'm going to get this right now. If I get it wrong, it'll look really bad in technology, won't it?
Is it working?
I think so. Next one.
The red one.
Oh, there we go. We are. Wonderful. So in technology, our focus is really on improving quality of life for children and young people with DMD through technical innovation and through transfer of technology into cool products that are going to help them. And like the medical research team, everything we do is done to accelerate that development and access to that transformative tech. So looking at our approach, we want to make sure that we get the best tech and then we get it as quickly as possible to the people who need it most. And how do we do that? So firstly, we find out what you and your sons and DMD community need the most. And then we put the needs of users at the heart of the direction of our product design. And you'll have heard a lot of this now, so hopefully the message is really sunk in now. We're incredibly collaborative, we want to work with the best people, and if people are out there doing it already, great, we want to join in, we want to help you, we want to make it happen. And finally, incredibly ambitious. So we're not going to settle for the status quo. If someone says to us, oh, wheelchairs are like that because they just are, they've always been like that, that's not good enough for us. We're going to challenge that and say, well, hey, you know, we would all be using Nokias, right, if it wasn't for Steve Jobs saying, I don't think so. Yeah. So we're going to do the same, you know, we're going to take the same approach. So what are we working on at the moment? So we've got 2 projects currently on the go. So some of you who've passed us in the corridor may have had a look at Elevex. So Elevex, which used to be called Smart Seats, we've got a great new name, which was the boys helped us to choose, which we're grateful to them for. And basically, it's a upper limb exoskeleton, low profile, helping boys to be able to continue to use their arms as their muscle strength declines. So far, we've made 2 different prototypes of a concept that we had, and it was a concept that we got from our friends over in the States at Solid Biosciences. Had a great concept. So we've made some prototypes of that, and we've tested it with people. And we also made 2 different types of controls that we could test those to. And we've learned an awful lot from doing that. And we'll be continuing to refine things and move on, as you go through. Well, it's a bit of a squished picture, but you can actually kind of see it moving in that picture. So that's the latest prototype, but the feedback that we got from that was, you know, it kind of works, but it's over the shoulder, it's a bit obvious. Is there anything you can do to make it more discreet? Okay, heard you, really important, so we'll look at what we can do. Make that more discreet, potentially look at using it under the arm instead so that we can raise it from there. So come and have a look at the concepts. Please do come and have a chat to us on your way out. We're also looking at the dream chair. So we're driving the design of a wheelchair that's fit for the needs of DMD users. And in this kind of project, we've made a couple of prototypes to date. And to be completely honest with you, we took this one here out to the boys and we showed it to them and said, what do you think? And they were like, it just looks like another chair. It's a bit underwhelming. Okay, point made. So we need to be more ambitious. We need to be more transformative. So we went out and we asked them, you know, okay, tell us then, what do you want from a chair? But by the way, let's follow you around. Take us on your trip to the bubble tea shop. Take us on your trip to school. Take us on, you know, on a route that you use normally. And we were able to observe some of those challenges that they were having that maybe they hadn't picked up on themselves. So for instance, why is it that you go out to the road and there's a path there but you're choosing to go out on the road? You know, isn't that a bit dangerous? Well, actually no, because that bit of the pavement there is off camber and there's a tree root, if you can see there, and I just don't have the confidence in the chair. I've fallen out of it before, and you know, it was terrifying, and you know, it makes me feel really vulnerable. So I choose to go out into the road. And we were like, we were gobsmacked, thinking, you know, you choose to put yourself in the harm's way of cars rather than to do that. But that's something that he hadn't thought about. It's something that he'd just taken for granted. So lots of observational research is really important in product design, because sometimes we can see things that maybe you've just thought, you know, to keep working around. And so what we did with that is, you may have seen it on the way out, we looked at different kind of visions about how we could go forward with this project. So one of them was looking at stability. What could you do to kind of feel more stable in the chair and feel more confident? Another message that really came through was getting to eye height, and to be able to be at the same eye height as our peers, and to be able to talk to them and to be able to get there quickly. You know, because that was the thing. You can get a riser on the chair, but you just don't get that there quick enough. So we were looking at that. And another key message that was coming through to us, which, you know, having some conversations with you today also was sort of reinforced, was this transition between a manual chair and an electric chair. And the sense that you put that off for as long as possible, but actually, when the transition was made, you discovered that, you know, it actually enabled more mobility. But there's an issue there, right? So we need to think about the design of the chair. What is it that puts someone off from going forward? So looking also to ahead and things that we want to consider in the future. So this is another project that came out of some work and some collaboration from Solid Biosciences over in the US. And this is a calf stretching device. So, and again, I've had some conversations with you, some of you here, about calf stretching and the physio exercises and some of the things that boys are currently having to use or actually refusing to use because they don't like them. So we were looking at whether we could use some sort of calf stretching in the same technology that's actually in the concept that's outside for the upper body exoskeleton, looking at whether we could use something like that, maybe embed it in something that's more like a sock. You could put it under your trousers, maybe a bit more discreet, and maybe something that's a bit more tolerated. And we also want to look at ventilation devices. So aware that these are really important devices from a medical perspective, and essential parts of a treatment plan. But could there be anything that could be done to perhaps make them more discreet, make them packaged in a way that boys maybe feel a little bit more comfortable about this situation? So for one thing to remember, to take away from my little part of this presentation, is really that we're incredibly ambitious about what we want to achieve. We're not going to take no for an answer. We're not going to say we're going to stick with the status quo. We really want to push for the things that are really going to transform boys' lives and are going to make them feel that assistive products aren't something to be resisted and held off for as long as possible. Perhaps they could actually be cool things too that you could be proud of, that you could really feel that enable you and really help you to be more independent. So that's us. Thank you very much. Oh, yes.
Yeah. We've got time for a couple of questions, but just to finish off, we're actually taking our technology work to the global stage. Next Friday, the British Council are paying for myself, Hayley and Eli to go to a festival in Austin, Texas called South by Southwest, which is a music, film and technology conference. And we are doing a panel discussion with a BBC filmmaker about technology and why the hell the technology industry has ignored disability for so long and what they're going to do about it. And then,
a swear word in the
yes, I did want to put a swear word in. And Eli's going to be performing the following day on the international stage. So that's really exciting. And the BBC are making a documentary about it, which will be aired at the end of March. So let's hope we meet a lovely venture philanthropist who wants to give us $50 million to finish what we've started. We've got time for a couple of questions. I'm sure it will be for you.
No. Can you research on that?
The Dream Chair. Obviously, this has been a project that's been running for a few years now. So I suppose, just out of interest, given the age of my son, is there, how long is a piece of string? But is there a timeline, an idea of when we could expect to see something that's available on the market?
So the first thing we want to do is want to get other partners to join us on that project and on that trip, to try and make it a bit more collaborative, because we're aware that other people are doing similar sorts of things and trying to look at similar sort of projects. So we'd like to kind of combine our efforts. But one of the things I think we've really learned from this current project with the Dream Chair is that the way the industry's set up, right, if you just design one chair and bring one chair to market, you're probably not going to succeed with that, because you need to have a range of chairs, particularly from an NHS perspective, right? You need to have a range of chairs for them to consider it. So something that David, my colleague, and I are thinking about is perhaps that project needs to look slightly different. Perhaps we need to design features. So maybe it could be a chair that, that had sort of gyroscopic movement or something like that, that helps get over the stability issue. And then if that's a design, can you make that available? So can you say to companies, well, look, we've got this kind of concept wheelchair sitting here on an exhibition stand. Do you like what you see? Well, actually, we could license these things to you. We make it available on a very favourable terms, let's say, and you can start employing these things in your chairs, because the research that we've done says this is what your customers want. So we might take a slightly different approach, I suppose, to the answer to that slightly long-winded answer, to say, I think it will probably be more realistic in terms of actually seeing these things in the market if we took a slightly different approach with that one. But I hope we will be doing that soon. So that project will be kicking off in more earnest in terms of the design phases of that project, probably in the coming months.
One more.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good timing.
I'm going to ask about the data.
You can ask data
Is it going to have a more open? Are you going to have a more open approach, and will it be designed from the off for people to consent to their data being used more widely than has previously happened?
Yes.
And would you invite any companies to work with you to achieve better outcomes and make use of their resources for your benefit?
Yes. So are you talking specifically about the data once it's in a database recorded and allowing people to access that? Is that any and all?
Specifically that, but potentially combining it with other data sources as well that you might be able to pull together.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll answer it kind of two sections. So the first bit in terms of the data governance section, yes, absolutely. So it will be the way that you handle that kind of data consent is very granular. So you normally, you wouldn't just have, yes, I consent, and that, you know, overall, you would normally have it broken down into I consent for my data to be held and just looked at by Duchenne UK. I consent for my data to be shared or as in anonymised formats. I consent for my data to be used in this way or that way. So it will be very granular, and so people will have that option to be able to choose, and then of course also the option to pull out. So it's about, there's a principle called FAIR principles, but it's really looking at making sure that data is identifiable, so that if somebody does decide it's, for whatever reason that they want to pull out, that data can be taken, identified and pulled out. Needless to say, it is anonymised generally when it's held, so it's anonymised, you signed a number, and names and addresses and things like that are kept slightly separate to that. But the idea very much is that we would build this UK registry, and that data then will be interoperable and transferable in an anonymised format with consent with other data sets globally. So the Paladin project is an EU-wide project, but really looking at being able to take different data sets and being able to see those all together as one so that you could use them for more global-based research, because I'm very much aware that in a rare disease environment, you're not talking about massive amounts of data. You know, when we talk about data, we often like to talk about like tens, hundreds of thousands of entries, and we're talking quite small. So really the big push is to be able to build that data set out so that we can then say to researchers, well, look, you know, we've got a fantastic data set here. The data is very complete, it's very thorough. We've collected it, you know, in a very kind of standardized way, and you can utilize that to sort of look at natural history model, look at different kind of endpoints that we might look at, particularly digital endpoints, and you know, really build that out. So the Paladin project is kicking off now. So the EU project will run for 4 years. But our part in that is about building the UK registry and then having an exemplar patient registry. So really patient-reported outcome measures. We're not trying to replace the North Star registry. It's designed to kind of complement that, and measure different things, you know, than necessarily that clinicians will be registering. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest.
Thanks, Emily and Hayley.